Order, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank all you guys for coming, and I'd like to welcome our newest member, Tony Viveros, who was appointed unanimously by both the school committee and the Board of Selectmen in a joint meeting last week. So we wish you well, and you will be taking the remaining of Tim's seat. So
Thank you.
You got a year with us, at least. Okay. Any comments and statements to begin? Seeing none, we will go right to the informational agenda. Curriculum leadership update with Dr. Condon.
Good evening. I'm happy to be here tonight with representatives of our curriculum leadership teams. The leadership teams are groups of teachers and administrators who meet throughout the school year to address important topics in their subject areas. For example, the new Common Core from Massachusetts. Massachusetts has adopted the new Common Core state standards, so we need to look at those. So these leadership teams look at important issues like that and help give guidance and direction for curriculum and instruction in the school system. So I would like to have them present the work that they have done this year. And we'd like to begin with the math leadership team. And I think that's going to be Julie Pacetto and Matt Gerard. Is that right?
Hi. Matt Gerard. I'm a teacher at the high school. Also the .2 5 through 12 math supervisor, and I was on the math leadership team.
Juliana Pacetto, the .2 math supervisor and .8 Mecklenburg School assistant principal. So we started out in the summer of 2010, and we focused a lot on, and I'm sure you've heard about Dr. Sharma coming and doing professional development with some of our elementary and Mecklenburg primary teachers. And he started out with talking about the non-negotiable skills for each grade and identifying milestones at certain grade points. And those grade point skills are identified in kindergarten, 4th grade, 7th grade, and 9th grade. And what we did is we reconstructed the map to include those non-negotiable skills and refined our assessments based on those non-negotiable skills. We also continued with grade level meetings and planning out our units and mapping that out for the math using the current frameworks, and that was at that time. We began with our unit plans at Mecklenburg and West, and what we did is we have a unit for kindergarten, preschool, and 4th grade, and we now have mapped out all the different units that are going to be happening over the next 2 years.
We also continued work at the middle school and the high school on unit planning from the previous summer. And at the same time, the math leadership team was formed. Foremost in our minds really was the Common Core state standards that were being adopted kind of all over the country. Became known that Massachusetts was adopting them, but of course they were going to put their own personal kind of stamp on them. So we were a little bit up in the air as to how much they were going to modify them. So we began studying the Common Core state standards, which were available online. In December, some of us attended the curriculum conference for the state of Massachusetts, where they outlined a little bit more clearly what they were going to do with the Common Core state standards. It became more apparent that they weren't going to make too many modifications to it, and they were going to gradually kind of roll out those modifications over the month of January. So again, in January, they finally released what is now being called the new Massachusetts 2011 math frameworks, and we were finally able to see the actual changes that were made.
Massachusetts was kind enough to also develop what's called the crosswalks. And the crosswalks, what they do is they take the old frameworks, compare them to the new frameworks, and tell you where you might have found that Common Core standard within the old framework. For instance, probability. So we all remember learning probability, throwing the dice, and how many times do you get it? You probably learned it every single year. Well, now probability isn't really seen or focused on until 4th or 7th grade. Okay, so first graders, no more dice. So what they're doing is focusing on the depth rather than the breadth. So they're really focusing on having that numeracy skill accomplished and achieved at first grade, second grade, kindergarten, and really building that core for the students to expand upon their knowledge later on.
As far as the kind of upper levels go, one of the main things we were concerned about was where the state was going to go with 8th grade algebra. There's been a push for a while as far as maybe 8th grade algebra for all students. It's been kind of a debate. And what happened with the new frameworks is they kept 8th grade math as called 8th grade math, but what they did was rolled quite a bit of the previous algebra curriculum into 8th grade math. The existing, the previous Algebra 1 curriculum is, as it is now, is a little more watered down compared to what it's going to be. So that shift kind of affected everything up the line in the high school. So the new Algebra 1 that's going to be rolled out incorporates a lot more of what Algebra 2 currently has in it, and the Algebra 2 is even a little bit more advanced than it previously has been. Now, what does this mean for MCAS and testing? Well, state certainly doesn't expect us to switch over immediately because there would be a lot of gaps in different age groups if we switched over to the new curriculum. It's going to be a process where they're going to roll out the new Common Core frameworks over a course of several years. By the spring of 2014, the MCAS exam will fully reflect the new Massachusetts state frameworks in math.
So we looked at what is worth knowing, and as math people, we think it's everything, but realistically, we need to figure out what is worth knowing at each grade level. And what we wanted to focus in on, what were the expectations at every grade level and what mastery is. So what we had to do was, as a math leadership team, come together and decipher what mastery would be for each grade level, knowing what the next grade needs to know. So that was a really tough challenge for us, and we had to fit that in with all the professional development that these teachers received this year as well. Now, during the curriculum days and the math leadership team time, we also worked on a lot of that, and we tried to incorporate these new frameworks into what needs to be taught now that it's different. Like I said, there are some changes. There are some things that aren't seen till much later. There are some things that are seen earlier. Another example I could give you, I mean, I could sit here and rattle them off, but another example I could give you would be coins. That students aren't first exposed to coins until first grade, and at that point it's just basic, what is a dime, what is a penny. Right now it's something that's done in kindergarten. So things like this, I know it seems very minute, but it does have a huge impact on the way that we teach and on the way that our students learn. The levels of knowledge were something that Dr. Sharma showed us, and basically that takes the students from the concrete level of knowledge all the way into actually demonstrating it themselves, so that they don't just know how to do math, but they know how to show someone else math. So it's really expanding that knowledge into being able to explain it themselves.
And we also discussed how it fit in with our professional development at the middle and high school levels this year, where we've been working on, as we mentioned before, our units of study. So it actually fits in very well with, timing-wise, with creating our new units. We are using a process called Understanding by Design and looking at the new frameworks and what those essential topics are that we need at each grade level and at the high school at each subject level, as far as moving forward with our new curriculum.
So what we're exploring during the summer is aligning the new 2011 Massachusetts curriculum frameworks with our current unit work. There are some units, well, most of the units for the middle school have already been completed, and like Matt said, that the high school was being completed, and we've just begun in the Macomber and the elementary school. So what we're going to do is make a cohesive curriculum across all grade levels, and so hopefully that will ensure that our students can progress along the grade levels into the learning.
So the main work this summer is going to be done at the Curriculum Institute in August, but we have a couple of days at the end of June, half days, where we're going to try to finish the work that the math leadership team started and create really a framework for the people that are going to be working on the curriculum in August to use, so that going forward they can really hit the ground running and make the best of their time during the summer. And again, that's really setting up our units of study, creating our enduring understandings and essential questions that we need to hit at each grade level. And one of the most important things is how much time, really figure out how much time we're going to spend at each grade level on each topic and in what order they should be covered in, which is obviously very important in math. And that's it. Thanks.
We're excited.
Thank you.
Can you swear him in?
The next person who'll speak is Alan Botcher, who was co-chair of the science leadership team.
He's our littlest member.
I'm by myself, so I'm asking Dr. Condon not to go too far. Good evening. I'm representing the science leadership team, and our work actually goes back a full calendar year to last June. So, in the summer of 2010, we gathered across grade level to focus on inquiry in this district and what inquiry skills look like for K to 9 and what we expect students to be able to know. And we focused mainly on 3, 5, 7, and freshman, sophomore year. And we developed a map across those focused grade levels according to the 6 bullets that you see listed there. So what does questioning look like at each grade level? What does a hypothesis or a prediction look like at each grade level? How is a procedure designed or followed at each grade level? What do observations and data look like, and how do students analyze their results and come to conclusions? How do I click on the map with this? Aha. Oh, okay. That's okay. Okay. So this is what the map actually looks like. And you can see on the left the 3 out of the 6 bulleted points that I just mentioned, posing questions, hypothesis predictions, and procedure. And then across the top, the grade levels that we focused on in the summer work. And you'll actually see extra grade levels there because as the year has gone on, we've added in those additional grade levels. And one of the things we really came across was differences in vocabulary. When do certain vocabulary words come up in the curriculum? At what point should a student know what a hypothesis is? Or at what point, what were some of the other ones that we came up with? Claims and evidence, procedure, yep.